Welcome to Buzzing About Romance. I am Becky, and you kind of have a supersized episode this time. Joining us is pretty much everybody but Lindsay. So, welcome back to the podcast, Jenny.
Hello.
And Heather.
Hi.
We got Leah joining us.
Hi.
And Rachel.
Hey, Becky.
And Carolina.
Hello, hello.
Okay, so this episode is dropping on March the 26th. Originally, it was supposed to be our Romance Rumble episode. But some things changed. I'm not feeling up to moderating argument, so we're going to push that episode. We will drop that down sometime this summer. As you can tell, as you are listening to this, I have recently had a bout of illness, and my voice is just not... And my brain isn't either. Like, I don't know about anybody else.
None of us are in a good headspace right now.
That's fair.
Well,
It's the end of March of 2023, and I was actually talking to Caroline a little bit today. So far, 2023 has been a hard year.
Yeah.
My focus is off, and nothing seems to be, like, easy right now.
No, it's been tough. It's like where you it's like the bell curve, and we've hit the bottom of the bell again.
I guess I just feel like I'm at the bottom of the bell every week, guys.
Great.
Well, but I'm saying like 2022 was kind of the tip of the bell, and now we're hitting the bottom with a force.
I guess. Okay, so before we get into what we're all actually going to talk about, we have a new segment happening right now on Buzzing About Romance, where each week I am bringing you a term of the episode, the term of the week. Some of these are ones you might be familiar with. Some of these might be ones that you've heard in passing and aren't quite sure what the fuck we're talking about. So, for this week's romance term of the week, it is Omegaverse, which is a more popular term that has just really been catching on over the last year, I would say. Book Talk really brought it out into the presence. It's always been there, but it hasn't necessarily been verbalized exactly what Omegaverse means. So, Omegaverse, also known as ABO, an abbreviation for Alpha Beta Omega, is a subgenre of speculative erotic fiction and originally a subgenre of just erotica. Now, in the romance world, you're going to see a lot of Omegaverse. It is going to be paranormal adjacent or paranormal. It is not, you aren't going to see much because there's certain things that have to happen within a book for it to be considered part of the Omegaverse that isn't really real life. So it's not contemporary. And there are certain words that are going to come up when you're reading Omegaverse, not just alpha, beta, omegas, but you're going to hear terms like nodding. And usually these are polyamorous relationships. And Heather is like, what the heck is nodding?
You don't know what nodding is?
No, I am not a PNR reader.
So-
I mean,
Nodding is, in Omegaverse, in nodding, it is this overwhelming drive and desire to mate. And once the mating starts, like the appendage swells and cannot be withdrawn until the mating is complete.
I like how
So-
carefully worded that was.
Yeah.
They basically have to stay attached.
That's awesome.
So
You would like it.
I think of it like a cat's penis. Like cats' penises have spikes. When they penetrate,
It's true.
they come out, like fin out. And that's why like you hear screeching when cats, because when they're pulled apart, it's actually painful if the flare outs haven't, like razor blades, like little razor blades. Anyway, okay. Enough anatomy lessons.
You know
Yep,
too much
I'm like-
about cat anatomy.
And that is the educational portion of this podcast.
That is the end of the evening for this. Thank you
We
for
need
listening.
that like the more you know sound. Woo, the more you know.
Yes. Oh, tell Mike. We need a new sound.
We can't
I
even get
know.
an echo. Like, we're gonna get some random sound, you guys. You can just twinkle now with jazz hands, I guess. Okay, so that's Omegaverse. If you guys have a term that you aren't sure about, you're too embarrassed to ask someone, send me an EM, send me a DM, send me an email, whatever. I don't know words. Send me a message. I will
Did
happily.
you call it an EM?
I said an EM, emergency medicine, apparently. Listen, guys, I had the COVID and it's really screwing with my body. My brain hurts. Okay, so that's Omegaverse. But again, if you have a term you would like us to explain on air, send us a message. We're happy to take one for the team and explain all things. But if you need an anatomy lesson, I think that you have to join Patreon.
Yeah.
Okay, so on this episode of Buzzing About Romance, we are catching up with some contributors and their year of reading so far, along with some topics that we are dying to talk about with them. I know that listeners have really been enjoying some of these topic episodes that we've been doing, and we've been mixing them in with a little bit of our trope talks. And so we're just going to keep talking about things because I have big thoughts. Like, we didn't know this, right?
No, nobody knew that at all.
Right. So let's talk first with how our year in reading is going. Rachel, have you had any outstanding books for 2023?
So I think we all know that I rate my books on vibes. Like, if I am just loving the book, I love it when I finish it, it's probably going to be 5 stars. That's just how I am, okay? And there's been a lot that I have absolutely loved. It's going to be, pretty rough when I'm trying to narrow it down. I've had a good year. Some of my favorites so far have been Keep This Promise by Corinne Michaels, Into the Tide by Laura Pavlov, A.L. Jackson. I binged her entire Redemption Hill series.
Isn't that series so good?
So good.
So
So
good.
good. The audios are
Amazing.
just phenomenal. Phenomenal. And then also Whispers of You by Catherine Cowles. I really did love that book. It's the start of a new series. The audio was excellent. She always has the best audio.
She does
Mhm.
do really good
She does.
audio. Jenny, how's your year reading going so far?
It's moving along. It's not going great. I also started school again, so like juggling the like academic reading versus like fun, enjoyable reading has been a little bit more of a struggle. And I don't know, like just the real world has like made me like ticked off a lot lately. So then like that restlessness like carries over into my enjoyable reading, and then like I'm just pissed off at every character and don't want to read anything.
That's fair. Any outstanding reads in the midst of your rage?
Right? I was like looking at my list before we got on. I was like, oh my goodness, like I do not have many. Like probably the biggest one was The Game, which we did a quick shot on.
That book was
one
so
really
good.
good.
So good. That's fair. I get that. Leah, how's your year reading going so far?
It's been kind of rough. It's only March and I've been in a pretty big slump since like January. I've read new stuff and I've had some really good ones like so Canon by Sawyer Bennett came out and it was amazing and wonderful, but I mean it's Sawyer Bennett, so I can't be disappointed in that. Drake came out in January and he's a delightful asshole and I just adore him so much. But yeah, I've slumped a lot. We did the Perfect Gentleman series and I do like to blame excuse me, that for my slump because of the way that we did it, which was fine. But I've had a rough year of reading so far.
That's fair. Carolina, how's your year of reading going so far?
My year has been kind of all over the place. Like I've hit the spectrum, like it's like a pendulum. I'll read something and enjoy it. I probably had the fewest 5-star reads in like the first half of the year than I've ever had before. So things are like either just not great and I don't enjoy them and I DNF, or they're good but I'm not blown away. And I feel like there's something I'm searching for. I couldn't even articulate what that is that I'm reading, and I just can't find it. So, I mean, I've had some good ones. As Leah said, Canon is a standout. That's like, if I could give it infinity stars, like 10 stars, I would. However, 5 stars is not enough for that one. Becky and I did a quick shot on Blind Date with a Book Boyfriend. I thought that was such a delight. And I did the audiobook for it and I was giggling throughout the book. So I enjoyed that one quite a bit. And then I've gone back to like just rereading some of Stacey Kennedy's stuff just because I know I enjoyed it. And the great thing about that is it still holds up for me the second time around, because there's nothing worse than you read it a second time and then it disappoints. So I went back to like the Sin Club series.
Yeah, I had to tell you, Lucy Eden messages me almost daily on Instagram. She is as nice as you would expect after reading that book. Like, I'm a little bit of a Lucy Eden fangirl there.
Yeah,
just so
Blind Date with a Book Boyfriend was such a delight to read.
So good.
So yeah, I would generally say that I'm kind of in a slump because I just haven't.
That's fair.
I want the Rachel reading vibes, but I just don't have them.
Yeah, how do we get the Rachel reading vibes is what I need to know.
I don't have the answer.
She has nothing for us.
That
Heather
does not help us.
Heather, how's your reading year going? And I should preface this. If you listened to last week's episode, Heather and I have brought to an end our dark era for a minute.
Yeah, I dove head first into the mafia world and it was amazing. And I loved every literal second of it. So that's been like this week has been hard, but Brenda Rothert and Kat Mazzara have one of their books is releasing and I got an arc for it, releases next week. It's Hard Hit. It's in their St. Louis Maverick series. I think we're going to do a quick shot on it. And I was bawling. It was so good. It brought me back around, but it's one of my favorite hockey series. Made for You by Natasha Madison was a standout for me.
Natasha Madison's new series, this Made For series, is amazing. And this is what I love about Natasha Madison books. And I feel like with the Only One series, she lost her way a little bit. And these books are bringing us back.
Yeah, the Made for You was everything I loved. She had that grumpy. I'm not a huge fan of Grumpy Sunshine, but man, it was perfect. I got a new to me author, Broken Sin by B.B. Hamel was so good. Silent Vow by Jill Ramsauer were huge hits for me. And then Riley Hart has a really great series that she started. It's about a podcast and I love it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm slumping. So I'm going to go back and read some of my favorites because I don't want to slump.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of us are slumping this year more so than we have in the past. And I have a little of decisiveness towards books. Newer books, I'm finding myself, they're okay. They are legitimate, solid 3-star reads for me. And I don't know if it's a matter of frame of mind, that maybe if I've read this in the summer when I'm out on the deck and sunshine and drinks that it would be a 5-star. I don't know. I don't know if that's because I feel like this winter has been the longest winter in history for us. I am missing my deck time.
My seasonal depression is like it's really bad this year, and I think that has definitely not helped. But I've done a lot of backlist reading too, like some of the authors that I've started reading in the past couple of years, but I haven't had time to read their extensive backlists. So like I'm reading a lot of backlists right now too.
Okay, so that's kind of everybody's reading year summing up. Hopefully when we come back in a couple months that
It's better.
everybody's in a better space. Hopefully some sunshine and spring flowers will bring us to a better place. So while we are all kind of gloomy gusses with our weather and this time of year and everything, there's been a lot of shit going on. There is one person on Twitter that I follow who keeps a running list of all the bad bookish behaviors. And I looked at her list today on Twitter. She's up to 72 and it's not even April yet.
Oh
Now,
my gosh.
I haven't looked at the list for a while. Like, does she put like stupid stuff on there
No.
too?
Mm-mm. Like the one, okay, so you guys all heard about the one author who she tried to copyright a couple of years ago. She tried to copyright the word cocky. Said she created the word cocky. Well, then there was this whole police chase that happened in the national park back in January or something. And now the author, she went missing for a couple days and now she's been arrested.
Oh, she did get arrested.
Yeah. Like, so she has, those were like 2 of her entries in her list of, authors behaving badly. So that was some of it, but some of the other things, so because
Karma catches up.
karma catches up.
She's a bitch. That
We've
karma.
had someone tweeted, you don't need to be a whale to write about a whale. You don't need to be a hitman to write about a hitman. You don't need to be LGBTQ to write about LGBTQ. You don't need to be a devil to write about the devil. Writers spin stories based on observations and a vision, not cliches. So that's the kind of stuff that's on our list, which, that's just...
Yeah.
So there's a lot, but she's up to, I'm sorry, I lied. She's up to 83
Wow.
on her
83
list.
grievances.
Yeah,
She has
83
80 grievances with the book community.
that have come out of the book, like the bookish hot takes that are happening. Like an author
Seems
copied.
like a lot.
There was something happening
I think
with
people lost their shit this year. Like honestly,
That's
like
more
they just
than-
went.
It's
more
more
than
than one a day.
is more than one a day right now. Like it's again, I don't know if it's just 2023 or if people have kind of gotten comfortable in their space. In book, like over on TikTok, I think they're comfortable in their space, and so people just speak and don't always think.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true of TikTok.
The beauty of TikTok and literally any other social media platform is you don't have to stay there and look at it. You can just scroll right by and move on to the next thing. If you don't like it, then for sure don't like it.
Right.
You don't
Even
have to.
TikTok has an option that you can say, I'm not interested in this.
That doesn't
and it
really
asks
work.
you what.
FYI. Doesn't really work.
No, I'm still on single mom talk. I'm like, this is like brokenhearted single mom talk is where I am currently living, and I'm always like, this is not for me. Like, this is not for me, and it just, I'm still there. I'm still there.
Like when we get random like For You page updates from people and like the craziness that they're stuck in.
I
It
am
just
currently
brings joy to my
stuck
life.
in medical student match because
Yes.
match day was
How?
a couple weeks or last week. One day was match day, and
Yeah.
I'm stuck on medical student TikTok and everybody who didn't match for residencies.
How did you get on that?
I'm on that too, Becky.
I do
Me
not
too.
know. I do not know. Okay,
No
so
idea.
let's get back to some bookish things we need to talk about and not how messed up my For You page is. Okay, so One of the things that we at Buzzing
Excuse me.
About Romance work very hard to do in our community is we do not yuck someone else's yum. It might not be for us personally, but I will never tell you what you read or how you read is invalid, and nobody in our community will. Because if they do, I'll kick them out. I ain't got time to play those games. But we have seen a lot of yucking the yum happening in Romancelandia lately.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
100%. And I want to like boob slap and dick slap them all.
One of the big things that we've been seeing
You're
is
welcome.
people that work within the book industry yucking on romance. I shared with Carolina today a independent bookstore that was making gagging noises about a blurb of an upcoming release from a trad pub company.
And they're not a genre specific independent bookstore. That's also
Yeah,
frame
they're
that.
just a general independent
It's just
bookstore.
interesting. I think part of the challenge and what I feel like people are doing, especially I see it more prevalently on TikTok than I do on like Instagram, is that people are trying to be controversial, have an opinion, get the views, go viral, and they're doing it with these kind of reactions, these bold reactions, without understanding the consequences of what they're doing or the impact on the industry that they're in. You know, if you're selling books or you work within romance or the book industry, like, why would you just downplay or disrupt or, yuck somebody's yum just to get a view? Like, I think that's disheartening.
I think the world is so negative. Like there's just so much negativity, and in reality, negativity breeds negativity. So on their, I don't know who they are or what they posted, but my guess is that on that post, there's plenty of other negative comments. So that just breeds negativity, and it's no good for anybody, and it can't be good for their business.
I guess my thing would be is romance is $1 billion industry.
Right.
We know that romance readers buy books. You're a bookseller. Why wouldn't you be doing something to cultivate? And we're gonna do an episode, Carolina and I and Jenny probably. Jenny's like, what? We're gonna do an episode on bookstores, and thrifting books and all that kind of stuff, and not just buying off websites, but going into physical bookstores and thrifting books in an upcoming episode. And we'll talk about this a little bit more. But one of the things that I said to Carolina, I said, independent bookstores, while they aren't exactly embracing indie authors, they could be embracing romance readers and creating safe spaces for romance readers to come into. And I feel like with what this bookseller did was make me basically just put a sign on your door that says, not a safe place for romance readers.
Like they're alienating an entire genre reader.
Right.
Like,
and go ahead.
Like not every romance reader only reads romance, but there are a lot of romance readers that only read romance. Like you are basically telling that person what they read is not valid.
Right. Because I was gonna say, like, yes, I primarily read romance, but like I read a lot of nonfiction too. But I'm not gonna buy a book from somebody that doesn't support all of my reads. And if I do go into a physical store, like I've made a lot of effort to like get dressed and get out in the world. So I'm probably gonna buy a book for my kids too. So not only have you lost like one sale, you've lost like 5 or 6 sales now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Heather.
Us who have children are raising bookworms. That, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, Jenny. If I'm going to go somewhere and support somebody, I'm not just buying book for me, I'm buying a book for somebody else, and if I have a positive experience, then word of mouth. Like, I have purchased books from a bookstore in Connecticut because they did a book signing for an LGBTQ author, and I loved it. It looked super amazing, and I like ordered a book from them. So,
And I think this extends past like bookstores, because we've seen this with other people within the industries, authors, narrators. Like, you do something like this and it just puts a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm not going to listen to books you've narrated or read your books, or like, and for I'm thankful that the like majority, like 99% of the situations, which like has been a small handful that I've seen personally, there are people that I've never read before. So like, but you've lost me. Like, any chances of potential that I would, because I'm always looking for new authors or new narrators or new perspectives. Like, I'm pretty open to stuff. Like,
it is the fastest way to ruin a fan base.
Yeah,
For sure.
Rachel, we haven't heard of you. Do you have any thoughts on yucking people's yums and booksellers?
I have a lot of thoughts.
Share those thoughts.
Don't understand how a bookseller could act that way when it is the most sold genre. Like, you don't have to like it, but you should be knowledgeable enough to know that it sells. Like, I've been to quite a few bookstores, independently owned, like been on vacation and stuff like that, that don't have really a single romance book. And I'm like, huh, interesting. So then, I don't buy anything. And that's the case for a bookstore that isn't even outwardly saying they hate romance. So yeah, if a bookstore is going to act like it's gross or it's not real reading or whatever, I'm definitely not going to spend my money there. And like Jenny said, if I'm going to a bookstore, I like made the effort to go to a bookstore instead of using Amazon or Barnes and Noble online. And I'm probably going to buy my kid a book too.
Yeah.
So then if I find you act that way, like, you're not getting any of my money. I'm like, I'm not buying my kid's book there.
I mean, if I put pants on, it's a big deal, people. It's a big ass
I
deal.
would encourage
Hard
other
pants.
people not to go someplace like that too. Like, don't shop at that store because they're not like good. One, it's not good business practice, so you're ruining your business. And two, don't be a shitty person.
Yeah.
just like I am not a fan of, if it doesn't have spice in it, it's just probably not for me. But that doesn't mean that I think that everybody should read books with some spice in it. I would just say,
Right.
I'm really sorry. I don't have any book recommendations. I mean, I know this author writes some pretty clean stuff. That's how I would handle it. I wouldn't be like, ugh, why would you read that? That's so boring. I mean, it's called a thought bubble. It's not supposed to come out of your mouth.
I mean, sometimes it does though, because why wouldn't you want to read spice? I think it comes down to also with the yucking of the yums, because we mentioned the audio narrator that I kind of outed over on TikTok. In a situation like that, people get upset when we saw this spike in all these men thirst trapping, reading books, and acting like they were, gonna read Den of Thieves and ACOTAR and all these things, and trying to get the views because the book talk girl was like, oh, he looks like my book boyfriend, or oh, isn't he hot? He has a deep voice. And we saw them with the whole Verba thing trying to profit off of romance readers, right? I mean, we all saw that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have this audio narrator that is trying to work in the industry, being paid money by authors to read romance books. And she said she did it with permission, and the author thought it was funny. I question that.
I question that a lot.
Because was it more of an awkward, like, yeah, that's funny, ha ha ha, I'm in a contract with you, and I can't redo it with somebody else. but they're making gagging noises like they're going to throw up over a word. And they even start one of the videos that says, maybe I should read in a different genre. Like, if that's even a thought in your head,
Maybe you should read in a different genre.
maybe you should go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the like thought bubble piece you were talking about. Like before social media, like these people could be horrible people within their house and we wouldn't know, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know that she doesn't like her job reading romance books. So I'm okay.
But now everybody knows that she doesn't like her
yes.
job
And
reading
now I'm
romance
like,
books.
I'm sorry. We have to go separate ways.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the things that's been on my mind, I don't know, maybe I raged farm yesterday. I put a post out because I had another book spoiled for me, and I'm really, really angry about this. We are seeing an uptick in authors, they're all starting like influencer squads and really trying to push out promo for their upcoming books and releases, and they're all on the other side of it, limiting the amount of arcs that they're sending out. So an author who once couldn't give away 50 arcs is now saying, oh, my fan base is getting too big, I'm only sending out 25. But then they want those 25 people to create these big, huge multimedia, multi-social media posts and campaigns. And there seems to not be a really great line between what's promo and what's spoiler. And one of the things that recently came up that really pushed me over the edge yesterday was an author who has a book that comes out, I think it's later this week or next week, in her main reader group, put a post asking her ARC readers, encouraging them to share their favorite parts of the book as they're reading it. Not in an ARC team group, not in a spoiler chat room, but in her main readers group, she did this. And I don't think that's okay.
Well, my thing is, if there's a book I'm excited for, like I want to be surprised. Like I don't want to go into the book knowing the ending or all of the best parts. Because how many books in the past year have the like promo things been the best part of the book? And it's disappointing because then it's like, oh, well, I already knew that. And then you're left like wanting more. Now, if I'm asking for a spoiler, it is very different than if I'm just like trolling in like social media.
Yeah. Well,
I bet.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I bet Rachel has a different take because she loves spoilers. She will always text me and be like, spoil it for me. I don't need to be in suspense.
Okay, but that's different than organically having it come across my For You page on TikTok.
So I personally don't care, but I don't think people should spoil it on social media. Like, it doesn't affect me because I don't care about spoilers. It doesn't. Like, I have seen the same thing, obviously, and it does not bother me, but I know it bothers other people. So I don't think it's cool to spoil entire plot lines and like entire main like events and scenes on social media. Like, I don't think that's cool. I don't think it's cool for authors to do that in their reader groups. We all know I'm on plenty of ARC teams, and they all have groups on Facebook. And there's even like spoiler posts in the ARC groups where, in case you haven't read the ARC yet, you don't see spoilers on the timeline. And that's how I think that should be handled. Because even if you're not like looking for the spoilers, like in an author group, sometimes you just like will see a comment like without like checking the post, right? You know how comments just like populate under posts. Like I don't like that. Like most people want to be surprised. They're not like me. So
well, but you are going and looking for the spoiler, and you're asking a trusted person to give you the spoiler. So like you're not coming across it organically. Like you're searching it out.
Yeah, and if I do come across it organically, like I don't even remember half the shit I see. So Like it doesn't bother me if I see spoilers. But I know it bothers most people. So I would like the spoilers to stop.
I don't
Stop.
I don't typically mind spoilers. Like if I'm actively going and looking a review, we all know I don't read blurbs, right? Like I don't read a blurb.
Right.
But if, from one TikTok video, I can tell you all the key points of the story, that's a
On a
problem
book that hasn't come out yet.
on a book that hasn't come out yet, or it's release day for that book, like 9 a.m. release day, and the promos are so much that it can tell you the whole of the story. I don't know. Carolina, what are your thoughts on spoilers?
I don't like them. That's the short answer. The longer answer is it's like watching a movie trailer and you see the movie trailer and you're like, there's the whole movie. I don't need to go see the movie. So if you were doing that with the book and the influencer team or your promos tell me the whole plot line, then I don't need to read the book and I won't. The other thing is if I see these big grand points of you know get spoiled and I so happen to read your book or not realize that that's for whatever reason, right? And I so happen to read the book, I'm likely, because I've already now that has been spoiled for me, chances are my rating is going to be lower because I didn't get to take the journey of the characters that you intended me to take. So that's another, you're in my world, you're losing readers because they're not going to read it, and or they're going to give you a lower rating because you've lost the anticipation and the moment of it. I mean, some people will take a different view on it, like, ooh, no, I love how it built up and I like knowing the answer and to see where it goes, and they'll be fine with it. But personally, no, I want to take the journey as the characters. I remember when what book was it? I think it was Sweeper by Amy Dawes. There was a big spoiler in that book, and she intentionally created a separate Facebook group that you could not join until you read the book and you had to answer a question so that people could then talk about it. People who've read the book could talk about it and not spoil it for anybody else.
Which
I
makes
appreciate that.
sense.
I appreciate that.
That like was great because you're like, oh, and when you read it and you're like, oh, I think it's this, and then you're like, nope, it's that. Like there it is. Like because you want that, like knowing it going into it. Now the book's been out for a few years now, so people could come across it and know what the spoiler is.
That's different though, because if it's an old book, like that's different because it's been out in the world and
well,
there's not as much like control about it.
I look at Riggs.
Right.
When I read it first, Heather was reading it at the same time I was reading it. I completed it first. We needed Leah to read it because we needed someone else to talk about it with us, but we couldn't tell her what we needed to talk about. And it's an exciting dynamic when you know what's going to happen and you're waiting for that person to read it so that you can be like, did you get it?
And you're begging them to read it faster.
So as an author, I am sure that it's a little bit of an ego stroke to have your ARC readers reading it and telling you their favorite parts, because it's probably some of your favorite parts. But if you're looking for quotes, if you're looking for phrasing to use in promo of the book, and that's why you want your ARC readers to do that, then make a separate group.
Yeah. There's a lot of authors that have spoiler groups for that specific reason. And anytime a new book comes out, they're like, make sure you are not putting spoilers in this like grouping, which I appreciate.
Also, find yourself some book friends and get yourself on a group chat or instant message and then message people, but don't ruin it for other. Like, you should be, the best part of why I loved this group, like this whole community, was everyone was super supportive. It was low drama. And then now all of a sudden it's not low drama. And it's like we have 87 grievances like 3 months into the year. It's so weird. I don't know.
I don't know. And we all know how I feel about influencers, so I mean, does anybody else have any feelings on influencers they want to talk about? Book influencers in general. Does anybody have any things they want to talk about?
Can they just talk about the damn book and not dance on the table?
Show me the title. I'm so tired. It's been a year and a half.
So much that you have to search for a title. Like honestly, like I just skip past those anymore. If the title is not where I can see it, you're not getting my
If it's not
business.
pinned to the top, please.
There was
If it's not, or
one-
even like,
at least
or if it's not even hashtagged at the like one of the first hashtags you can see. If I can't find that title by swiping, you are not getting my read.
Good, Carolina.
Sorry, Carolina.
No, it was earlier.
I got a little feisty there.
It was last week or the week before. Somebody shared in our Discord. It was a really great reaction video to a Candy Steiner book. And she holds the book so you see the edge of the pages, but never the front of the cover and never the title.
It goes by super fast.
Because she's so excited talking about it. But you had to dig in those comments to find out the title.
Wasn't it like Hannah or somebody who said she like kept pausing it
Yes.
to try and get like that frozen screen of the front cover because it wasn't anywhere in like it wasn't easily found. But so she watched it and just kept pausing and starting. They watched it like frame by frame.
Okay, so this one is for Carolina and Heather and Rachel. Of course, there is the discourse that is back. And Leah and I have already talked about this with Katie on our Hot Takes episode. So if you want Leah and I's opinions, feel free to go back and listen to our Hot Takes episode. Audiobooks don't count as reading.
Bullshit. It's bullshit.
I just feel like this has been like discussed so many times. So for someone to still have that opinion is just wild to me.
They suck. Here's the deal. My dad is an avid reader. I think he would read almost as much as I did. When he retired, he's been having some eye issues, and the hardest thing for him has been that he hasn't been able to read. So for Christmas, I got him all hooked up. We got him an iPad. We got him all hooked up on Audible and got him AirPods, and he is extraordinarily happy because he's reading again. It's amazing. It's made him happier. So I call bullshit on anyone who says that audiobooks are not reading. Second, as a reading teacher, I will tell you that if you give your kid a book and you allow them to listen to it, all of their reading skills will increase, their fluency, their language skills, all the things. Clearly, it's a hot button for me, and I can tell those people to go F off. Sorry.
And you all heard my opinion the last time, so I'm not going to give it again. But hey, we have the reading teacher proving me right. So there you go.
Well, I did a whole master's degree on it.
You also have people who are auditory learners who need that. Then you have people like me who just like to read all the time, but have to do other things. So I'm like, I listen while I'm cooking dinner or cleaning the house or running errands. And it's great. Like sometimes you just need a little bit more, and you still absorb the stories. You're still absorbing the information. And I don't know, there are certain scenes, like when I've listened to an audiobook, I remember exactly where I was when I was listening to that scene. It's crazy. Like, it's like a song, you have those emotions and those things come back. And I think about a story and a scene in a story, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was at this location when I was listening to that part of the book.
Yep. Also, just a friendly reminder, your car is not soundproof.
And you can also speed up audiobooks. So
Yeah.
for people like Leah and Rachel, what do you listen to your books at? Because it's crazy.
2.1.
Yeah, I listen to in podcasts, I do the same. I'll listen to like a 1.2 or to 1.5, depending on the
I'm a
player.
standard 1.75 unless it's Aiden Snow, and then I slow it down because he is delightful and I like to take a long time to listen to him. Then I drop back down to the one.
Um,
Well, but one more thing on that. So my husband, I love him dearly, but he has like really hard like issues with comprehension. It will take him months to finish a book because he has to read it so slow. But if the man listens to something, like he is very musical, if he listens to something, it clicks instantly. Like he is not a person that can eyeball read a book and comprehend it because it takes him so long to read the words to remember what he is like reading. Like he does audiobook is like the go-to for him if he listens to them. I mean, he doesn't do a lot of reading anyway, but like he has a lot of comprehension issues. And it's like I I do not cannot fathom the stupidity of people
I
that
really
feel that they think that.
I really want to understand, like, I don't really, but I do kind of want to understand like where they're coming from, why they think audiobooks are not a book. Like, if you were an author, like if you wrote this book, what does it matter? They're still consuming the book and the story you wrote.
Mhm.
It's just in a different format.
it really comes down to an elitist mentality when it comes to books. So here's the deal. We have to remember that reading and book ownership was something that was preserved for the wealthiest of the wealthiest. That's who owns books. That's who had books. Storytelling, verbally telling out loud stories, was a part of the poorer and lesser classes. And so there is still this mentality that you are not educated, you are not of value unless you are reading it with your eyes. The stories of your eyes are not as profound as the stories in your ears. The other piece we have to think about this with, too, is there's a lot of the same feelings when ebooks first came out.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
my reading on an ebook, even though it's the exact same amount of words, the exact words, with special paper, ink, and technology, was not as valid as owning the hardback of the same book. That my reading experience was less than because it wasn't this elite piece of book ownership.
Well, all of those people can go fuck themselves.
I think
That's what I have to say to that.
as a teacher, I like cringed when the ebooks or the e-readers came out. And it was more for me, sort of that separation between the haves and the have-nots. Because like I could provide a classroom library and like libraries in schools are accessible places, but an e-reader isn't something that's accessible. And then also hard to share. Like if I buy a book, I can't have another kid read it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Mhm.
Mhm.
No,
But
there's
that's a different situation completely, though, because you're in a classroom setting in which sharing of those books is wanted
Well,
and needed.
but we can talk about this too because it's something that's happened recently. Amazon used to have the feature, and this was one of the reasons I actually went with Nook when I first bought my e-reader, because Nook allowed you to share a title up to 10 times between other Nook users. And so, because you were borrowing books. And if we think about it, if we look back upon our mothers, how many of our mothers had a friend that would drop off the paper sack of books, and then that paper sack of books went to the next house, right?
Yep.
Like, that's how I found tons of romances when I first started reading at a way too young age. Was the paper sack that got delivered from the hairstylist my mother went to at the time. And but so one of the things that's happened recently is with the whole you can't return books anymore because it's bad to read a book and then return it that we had happening on Amazon. One of the things that came out of that is
They took away our share
they took away the
capabilities.
share capabilities of ebooks within your Amazon library. So if I own a book now, I can no longer share it with another Kindle user. And
I
that
hate
feature is
that so
gone.
much.
It will not be coming back. And it was
Yeah, unless you're in a household, you can share within your
right.
household.
I'm not talking, but
Yes.
I used to be able to say, like, hey, I bought
Mhm.
Sawyer Bennett's book Canon. I could share it to Gloria and she'd have it for
Mhm.
14
And
days.
and there was a
Mhm.
limit to the number of shares you could do per book.
Yep.
It wasn't unlimited, but I think it was like 2 or 3 times.
But the Author Guild, when they went to Amazon and said, hey, we want this return thing to stop, one of the other negotiating parts that they took in was they want the borrowing thing gone. They want it gone because it wasn't a feature on trad pub books. Basically, they want the exact same features that trad pub books, that indie books had.
Mm.
I'm still angry that I can't share a book. I own that book. If I owned that
Well,
paperback, I can
I
send it
would
to
have been,
Jenny.
well, and Amanda and I were just talking the other day. So she was reading, I don't remember who we were talking about, but I was like, oh man, I wish, Katie Rios. She's going to dive into the world of Katie Rios, who has a big backlist. And I have all of her books because I'm an idiot. But I was like, I really wish I could loan these to you because then she could try them out because it's one of those authors she hasn't read. And so it's like she doesn't want to buy a bunch of books and then not like the author. And that is one of the reasons that I love the share option because I could have an author that I loved and I own all of their books to be like, here, read these books. And then 9 times out of 10, they will buy the books from that author.
Oh, for sure. I've been in that boat too, where friends are just getting into reading and they're not
Mhm.
sure. So then I shared a couple of my books, but then now I can't do that. And my husband's like, I don't understand. We have like bookshelves upstairs filled with books. Like you aren't gonna share those? And I was like, we actually
Nope.
don't open those.
No,
So
because cracked spines are the worst.
Those are trophies.
Seriously, they're just pretties for our shelves.
Jenny or Rachel, do you guys have thoughts on sharing and that feature being taken away?
Yeah,
It's
I didn't use it too much, but I do hate that it got taken away, and I wish you could also do it on trad pub books. Like I wish it would have went like the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jenny?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It wasn't an option that I used very often, but it was nice to have the option of using it, especially in a case like Leo was saying, like you just want to share a book to see if someone else is interested in it. You're most likely not going to share all like 50 books of someone's
No.
backlist. You're going to share 1 or 2, see if they like it, and then they'll go get those books on their own.
Yeah. Okay, something else we have seen a lot of happening in 2023, and it really kind of started last fall, but we're definitely seeing more of it. And this is authors moving their backlist into Kindle Unlimited, which is great for us as readers because it's a little easier to explore a backlist. And a lot of TradPub is getting to move their stuff into Kindle Unlimited. Now, a lot of that is only Kindle Unlimited US because as I learned in our episode with Stephanie from the book agent, if the book is being sold like on Amazon Australia, those are considered foreign rights, and the traditional publisher wouldn't have the right to put it in Kindle Unlimited Australia. They would only have the rights to put it in Kindle Unlimited US. So like Entangled has put a ton of their backlist into Kindle Unlimited, but it can only be in Kindle Unlimited US because that's the only place they have the right to distribute that title, because foreign rights have been sold out to the UK, to Denver, Jesus, Joseph. Germany and
Denver?
Denmark. Anyway, Jeez. Anyway, what are our thoughts on all these backlists going into Kindle Unlimited?
I
I
think it's
love it.
great.
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Carolina.
Okay. I think it's great. I mean, for Kindle Unlimited users, backlist, it's, if an author wants to have like wide use for the newer stuff, like it allows me as a Kindle Unlimited user to see if I like their writing style, get familiar with them. And if I really like their stuff, then I'm willing to buy their book, like purchase, like flat out direct and buy their book. But sometimes, it's book budgets are there's only so many books I can buy, and it's tough sometimes to take a chance on a new author. If
Yeah.
you just, especially when you're like, oh, I really want the paperback copy of this new release from an author I love for my trophy shelf, then I'm less likely to buy a book to try somebody new, unless I can get it through the library or Kindle Unlimited and give it a shot. Even sometimes with the recommendations from the group, Discord, or even this group contributors, even if you guys are all saying, I'm more likely to just say, okay, I'll buy it because,
There's a trust
there.
there.
there's a trust there, but it doesn't mean it's for me. There's been plenty of times that Becky has recommended stuff that just didn't hit for me, and vice versa. But yeah, I think it's great.
Rachel, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I pretty much exactly what Carolina said. I think it's excellent. It gives a lot of people a chance to read authors that they maybe couldn't have afforded to read otherwise. And like for people who maybe don't have Kindle Unlimited, there's always deals going on, like 99 cents for a month, or like $10.99 for 3 months, that kind of thing. And I'm much like 100% more likely to try a new author if they're in Kindle Unlimited, because I won't even just trust a sample of a book that's not on KU. I just simply won't buy it if it's not in my library or it's not in KU. So for me, it's given me an opportunity to, one, read backlist of authors that I really enjoy, and I've maybe only read a couple of their books, and two, I've tried a lot more authors that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, I agree, Rachel. So Rachel had told me about a series that was coming into Kindle Unlimited, which was one of her favorites. I quickly downloaded it, started reading it, and then pre-ordered the next book in like a new series is coming out, because I absolutely 100% fell in love with the author's writing style. But I wouldn't have known that because it's not a library. So
Yeah, and we got an episode coming up that Jenny and I are doing, and there's a survey on our website right now, if you go over to buzzingaboutromance.com, where we're asking you all about your libraries. And it's only just recently that we learned exactly how much the rights to a book cost a library and how many checkouts that is good for. And it's no wonder libraries are hesitant to take chances on some of these indie authors, because it's pricey. So authors, even just putting one series at a time in KU, like Jill Ramsauer was a new to us author. She'd been on our radar for a while, but no one had read her. We asked in our community and everyone's like, crickets. Heather and I are like, who's read her? And we got crickets. So I went ahead, I had the income. I spent the $5 and bought a first in series of her books and was like, okay, I'm going to check her out. Fell in love. Well, lucky for me, she just put her 5 Families series into KU. And it's Mafia. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed book 1. I'm excited to read the other 5, and it's nice because in this economy, it's hard to justify spending, $30 for 5 books, and especially when eggs are $6 for a dozen or whatever.
I think too, I accidentally bought 5 years of Kindle Unlimited.
Accidentally.
on Prime Day, they were like running a deal and I bought like 2 years. And then I was like, oh, they have 3 years for this. So I was like, oh, I better get that deal. Well, I ended up buying 5 years total. So for me, I'm like, I I have 5 years worth of Kindle Unlimited. I also feel like I know that I'm privileged that I am able to read, and reading can be an expensive hobby.
Yeah.
And Kindle Unlimited allows me to read a book a day. I mean, in reality, I'm reading a book a day. That's 365 books times however much. I don't even want to do the math.
A lot of
So
fucking money.
I'm hesitant if I haven't read the author to spend the money. I will, however, spend the money on an author that I know and trust. And that doesn't mean I'm out there trying to, I don't condone people reading books illegally. I think that it's not, pirating books is not cool. So that's why I really try to support Kindle Unlimited authors.
Yeah, and I think the other piece that we have to look at this too is there are a lot of authors that Kindle Unlimited is their main source of income. It doesn't
Yeah.
just support them, it supports their whole family. And there is value in Kindle Unlimited. And again, it's an easy way to take a chance on an author. Jenny, do you have a thought on Kindle Unlimited? Oops, sorry, Leah. Just a minute.
No, that's okay.
This is like, I have like my copy and paste like thing I always put in Discord when this comes up. Because I'm very like, yeah, Amazon's the big, huge box that's like hurting everybody. But the crazy thing is, like, for someone that's doesn't have a disposable income, it's a great option. I mean, Netflix costs, more than KU does, and I'm definitely consuming more books than I am TV. So
Yeah.
it allows me to consume those books, like Heather was saying, like I can give it a chance.
It's interesting. You don't hear hatred for Netflix, but boy, do you hear hatred towards Kindle Unlimited.
Right.
My thing is, like, I am a K, like, I read a lot of books in KU because I read really fast. Like, I was sick over the weekend and last weekend, and I put away probably like 8 books, and probably 7 of those were KU books because all I did was sit around and read. Like, I could not afford to read what I read if I didn't have KU. My only issue with this new trend to go to KU is the fact that there are so many authors that are dropping their books in KU that bitched and complained about it. And you like vocally said, you will never ever see my books in Kindle Unlimited. But lo and behold, they're jumping on this trend to try and go viral and dropping their backlist in it. Like that is my only issue. I appreciate that they're doing it because they are giving people the opportunity to find them, but it annoys me to no end that they are the same authors who not even 6 months ago were talking about how terrible Kindle Unlimited was, and you would never find their books in it.
Yeah. Well, and there is a collation between these viral books, these books that are becoming, sensations and bestsellers, to being connected to Kindle Unlimited. But again, it's because it's easy to take a chance.
It is. It's 100% easy to take a chance. And the thing is, like, you will find a lot of subpar books in Kindle Unlimited. Like, they're not great books.
You find subpar books on trad pub tables, people.
You do. But there are some amazing authors that are KU authors that have been KU authors from the get-go. And my big thing is, don't shit on Kindle Unlimited if you're going to drop your books over there.
Okay, so the last topic of the night, and we have to talk about this because there's been tons of celebration within our community about this certain topic, and this is really all about Jenny and Lindsay, who is not even here. So we've seen the trend of authors creating these Kickstarter campaigns happening, and they're becoming a lot more frequent. Like, we know Katie Robert did one, and she did a group with a group of authors. There's a small town one that Aaron Nicholas headed up, and we're going to talk to that group later this summer about their Kickstarter and what inspired their small town blue collar Kickstarter that they did. But Jenny, what is the Kickstarter right now that has just got the world all in their feels?
Penny
All
Reed,
aflutter.
yes. 10th anniversary of Knitting in the City, which makes me feel so old. Um, um, she did this extremely well. Like she has had this planned out for years. She had like a clear plan. As many things with Penny go, like she did much better than she expected she would. I think the fans kind of expected her to do well. Her confidence wasn't too great. But like we're at a point now where we're getting hardbacks for the people that like pledged before she reached the 432,000 goal. Like she set her goal at 25,000 people. Like it
Hmm.
was, yeah, it was 3 minutes and she was past her goal.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, these
um,
books are gorgeous, like
Yeah.
gold leafed edges and
But one thing I would love to say about this is when she did the research and she realized that like this goal of hers was not going to be possible for most people. And so she like she tiered this Kickstarter so eloquently, and there's so many levels and so many options, and it was a if we got to this number, I mean the Kickstarter is what, 5 days in,
yeah, like it's not very,
like it's
they
not even
still,
done yet.
yeah, it ends April 14th.
and she's
Yeah,
at like
but
$500,000 in at this point, I think.
Yeah.
it was, yeah, it's crazy, but she has changed and adapted. Like before it happened, like she changed and adapted because she's like there's no way people can afford this. And then like after she hit that crazy 25,000, like right off the bat, she was like, maybe we'll pivot again. And like she has pivoted like 2 or 3 times, but the way that she has reacted and the honest truth that you see coming from her, like she was in tears during the one video she was doing
Yeah.
because I don't think she realizes like how much people love her.
Rachel, were
Like
you
my
in on
husband
this
doesn't
one?
read.
Rachel, were you in
No,
on this?
I've never read Penny Reed.
That's okay.
We're
It's
fine with that.
okay.
Rachel.
It's okay. I just know you love a good book box.
I do love a good book. I almost did it and I've never read her.
Could at
I
least
could
get
see
some
that.
stickers.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Okay. We'll save book boxes for our next catch up, which I'm sure we will have soon because hopefully Merritt's not talking back to us while she's on the train this time, like she did last time.
I love Merit so much.
Okay.
Probably in the educational piece.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that time for book
It's that time for book of
of
the
the
week.
week.
Oh, little side note. So I made a video, but I haven't posted it yet of the jazz hands.
Oh my god. Okay, Heather, you're first. What's your book of the week?
It's a Cal O'Reilly book. It's actually social media influencers, and it's a why choose, and it's done super well. It's called Scandalous. If you're not generally a why choose reverse harem, I think that you will actually really, really like this. So it's Scandalous by Cal O'Reilly.
Okay. Leah, what's your book of the week?
My book of the week is actually crap. What is it? Wasn't ready for that question. It's called Night Master by Anna Hackett. It's book one of her Oranus Night series. It is really good. Honestly, the creation of the world that this woman does is just, it's amazing. It's sci-fi. It's just really, really, but she ends it up kind of on a cliffy. And I did lose my shit a little bit. And I was messaging Mara and Amanda, and I was like, oh my God, she did this to us.
Rachel, what's your book of the week?
Mine is Cauldron's Call by Kristen Proby. It releases on March 21st. It's the second book in the Curse of the Blood Moon trilogy. It's paranormal, like witches set in modern day Salem, Massachusetts. And it's a trilogy, but it's three different couples but you do need to read all the books in order, like for the storyline.
We did an
Oh, we
audio
did
listen of
we
book
did.
1,
Yeah.
and Sebastian York read that.
Oh, he's so good. I love him.
I love him.
But yeah, book 2 was excellent, and I'm just obsessed with the covers.
They are
They're
really
so pretty.
pretty covers. Okay, Jenny, what's your book of the week?
Better Date Than Never, by Piper Sheldon. It's a second book in this series, but I think it can be read as a standalone. A second chance-ish friends to lovers.
It's like all the things you love, Jenny.
It is. And they were like, they grew up on TV together, so it's an interesting dynamic.
Interesting.
Ooh.
Carolina, what's your book of the week?
My book of the week, as I mentioned, I've been doing some rereading. So I reread Desired by Stacey Kennedy as part of the Club Sin series. I just love the way she makes these books so like intimate, and yeah,
They're good.
it's good.
They're good. Mine is Stay Together by Kaylee Ryan. It is book 4 in the Kincaid brothers. It's an instant connection, slow freaking burn.
How slow is the slow burn?
54%.
Oh, that's not terrible.
But, well, it was kind of dry humping 54%.
Oh.
Okay, it's in KU. I really, really enjoyed it. But it is the second book in recent days with a heroine that has trust issues. And if this is a new trend, I am not here for it. I do not like it. Fucking stop it. If the guy is
But
showing
was this
up,
as bad as the other one?
this is not as bad as the other one, but it was still kind of there. Like this character had really good reasoning for not trusting things. Like was a product of the foster care system, never really established any connection, didn't have like a group of friends that kept her grounded. She was kind of like, the leaf in the wind kind of thing. And so they made sense, especially coming into this really big dynamic family and it being overwhelming, and could easily get attached. But because of her past rejection from foster families, she tries not to get attached. So it makes sense. And he addresses it not just once. It's not like I know you don't trust guys, so whatever kind of thing. It was more of hey, I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep showing up. And he talks about it with her, and she talks about it back, which is why it wasn't as bad as the other one that I read. But I just need authors to listen to me here.
What's the timeline on the trust stuff, though? Like, is it like years or like a few months?
A few months. About the same time that was in the other book. It just was written better, that it didn't annoy the piss out of me like it did last time. But it was good.
That's fair.
I think you should read it. I really do like the Kincaid family series a lot. Okay. Patreon update. Thank you for supporting us and helping us to bring you all the amazing podcast goodness. We currently have 4 open tiers on Patreon. These start at $5 a month and include membership to Drunk Book Club and other exclusive contents like Should You Read It? And apparently my last Should You Read It that I did a buzzing after dark that Jen Ellen was listening to while in public, and she said
Why would she do that?
She spent an entire 7 minutes praying to God that her earbuds did not disconnect from her phone because I was sharing all the dirty quotes.
But what, Jen Ellen? Why would you do that? You know better.
I know.
I mean, honestly. I have a good one coming up, but I'm waiting for book 3 of the series to show up before I do it.
Did you know that Buzzing About Romance is going to their very first signing? We will be at the HEA Readers event in Indianapolis, Indiana on November 3rd through the 5th. Tickets are on sale now. We have a link on our website, and I also put a link in our on the shelf show notes so that you can go and find the tickets. They're actually very reasonable priced. The hotel is in a really nice setting, and it is easy access to the airport, and we will be there for 3 days, and it's going to be so fun. And if you aren't planning on attending the signing but live in the Indianapolis area, we are going to have breakfast, some kind of brunch on Sunday morning. a meetup so that people can come and say hi. You can find a list of all our upcoming dates, including book club, happy hours, plot a book, and reading challenges at bookcaseandcoffee.com/events. We have some amazing happy hours coming in April and May. Like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Carrie Elks, Jill Ramsauer, Delta James. Well, it would have aired already, so you can go back and watch us in Delta. Trina, Trelina.
Gucci?
Yep.
Yes.
We have one coming up with her and a couple others that are in the works for scheduling. So you are going to want to check out Heather's like, tell me because I need all of them. We've got some amazing happy hours coming up over on our YouTube. So make sure you are following along to our newsletter and all the things so that you can know what events are coming up. Thanks everyone for pivoting and joining us in this readers catch up. I know it wasn't what we planned, but this was better.
It's always fun to do an episode like this.
If you have a topic you would like to hear our opinions on, send us an email. We will happily chat about it. We always have big thoughts. Until next time, everyone.
Happy reading, everybody.
Find us on Instagram at buzzingaboutromance or on Twitter at buzzingromance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.